July 22nd, 1979, Baghdad. The al-Quld Hall is packed with powerful faces and stifling heat. A man suddenly leaps to his feet in the middle of the hall, raises his hand and shouts, "Long live the Ba'ath Party! Long live Saddam Hussein!" On the main podium, Saddam Hussein smiles, draws on his cigar, and he is visibly excited. In front of him are a microphone and a sheet of names. He reads each name, slowly, clearly.
Salman Dawood Nijris, Walid Saleh Muhammad.
Each time a name echoes through the hall, that person must immediately stand, chant the slogans, then walk out through the rear door. The door closes behind them, one by one. No one in the room knows what waits behind that door. A grand reward, a commendation, or an end from which there is no return. Every gaze is fixed on the paper in Saddam's hand. Each time he lowers his eyes to read again, the entire hall seems to stop breathing. He is savoring his power and fully understands that from this moment on, that power will become unrivaled. Those who remain have only one choice: to become loyalists, absolutely loyal, and swear their allegiance to Saddam Hussein. On July 11, 1979, a closed-door meeting of the Revolutionary Command Council was held among the senior leaders of the Ba'ath Party. President Ahmed Hassan al-Bakr, now 68 years old and in severely declining health, announced that he would resign for health reasons. He declared the transfer of all power to Vice President Saddam Hussein, who had long held real authority and was his relative. Beside him, Saddam sat there quietly smiling as his plan to reach the pinnacle of power had succeeded. Everything was now becoming reality. He was about to formally become the absolute leader. While others were still stunned, Muhi Abdul Hussein Mashhadi, a council member, al-Bakr's secretary, and a senior party leader, suddenly voiced strong opposition. Mashhadi advised al-Bakr to take only temporary leave rather than immediately transferring power to Saddam, arguing that it was unnecessary and could trigger internal instability. Mashhadi would pay a very, very heavy price for this advice. A high-ranking party member like Mashhadi had openly challenged Saddam's leadership. To Saddam, this was a serious threat to his power and his plans. From that moment, Saddam Hussein resolved to eliminate anyone within the party who might show disloyalty. And within just days, a list of those to be removed under charges of treason began to take shape in his mind. July 22, 1979, Baghdad. The Middle Eastern summer heat burns like a furnace, scorching the air inside the al-Quld Hall. Just 6 days after assuming the presidency, Saddam convenes an extraordinary meeting with Iraq's senior Ba'ath Party leadership. In the hall at the center of the city, hundreds of party members and officials have gathered to welcome the new leader. From the very beginning of the session, a film camera is switched on by Saddam's direct order. He explicitly demands that the entire meeting be recorded. The official agenda is not disclosed. Inside that room, no one knows exactly what awaits them. The atmosphere is suffocatingly tense, and then what follows will exceed every expectation. The camera is fixed in place. Cigarette smoke drifts thickly through the grand al-Quld Hall in Baghdad. Saddam Hussein sits at the center of the main podium, leaning back comfortably in his chair, holding a large, high-quality Cuban-style cigar, exhaling smoke in steady rhythm. Before him are roughly 400 senior Ba'ath Party leaders. They were urgently summoned, yet no one knows the reason, only the unmistakable tension gripping the room. Saddam begins to speak, his voice slow, carrying a tone of carefully staged sadness, yet radiating chilling authority.
My dear comrades, today we are confronted with a deeply sad and tragic matter that has occurred within our beloved party. A conspiracy of betrayal, a grave betrayal, has infiltrated our very ranks.
He pauses briefly, takes another draw from his cigar, then continues for emphasis.
I have often been able to sense conspiracies with my heart before evidence emerged, but this time, my heart failed to detect it in time.
The words hang in the hall's deadly silence, broken only by the sounds of smoking and coughing. People glance at one another uneasily. No one dares to speak, because everyone understands. The tragedy is about to begin, and anyone in that room could be the next victim. He picks up a sheet of paper from the table and says,
Comrades, now Comrade Muhi Abdul Hussein Mashhadi, whom we all know, will come forward and tell us everything. He has confessed and wishes to redeem himself before the party. Listen to him.
2 Mukhabarat security guards, dressed in dark uniforms, immediately rise from both sides. They move toward the back rows, seize Muhi Abdul Hussein Mashhadi by the shoulders, and escort him to the main podium. He is the very man who had opposed Saddam during the closed-door meeting of the Revolutionary Command Council, a decision that would prove to be the greatest mistake of his life. He walks slowly, his legs slightly buckling as if he might collapse. Standing behind the microphone, Muhi appears like a lifeless body. He trembles so violently that he must grip the podium to remain standing. Saddam sits motionless, his gaze fixed directly on Muhi, a faint smile resting on his lips. Across the hall, many lower their heads, avoiding eye contact with either man. Muhi stands frozen, unable to look up. The man who was once his comrade is now the one who holds his fate. Muhi begins to read, his voice shaking, delivering a prepared confession.
I am the one behind the conspiracy against the new president. I personally attempted to recruit others to join.
But it is a lie. Nothing he admits on that stage is true. Only days earlier, Mashhadi had been tortured. He was given 2 choices: step onto the podium and confess to a conspiracy, or unimaginable horrors would be inflicted upon his family. He had no choice but to obey, and he did so to save them. Muhi falsely declares his own involvement and implicates fellow party members in a fabricated plot to overthrow Saddam's new regime. Saddam remains seated beside the podium, watching intently. At intervals, he interrupts to question key details. Each question compels Muhi to reaffirm his statements before the entire assembly. His voice grows increasingly unsteady, reduced to nodding and mechanically repeating his testimony. The hall sinks into oppressive silence. No one dares to move or speak as the confession gradually sketches out a list of the accused. Those seated below understand that once the confirmations end, the names will be called, and once a name is called, there is no return. After he finishes speaking, Saddam returns to the stage. He does not rush. He lights his cigar, then asks the entire room,
What measures should we use against these traitors? You already know the answer. There is no other choice but the sword.
He takes the sheet of names from the table and speaks.
When I read your names, you will stand, recite the party slogans, and leave the room.
And so he begins reading the names, one by one. Each man must rise from his seat, repeat the slogans, and then is escorted out of the hall. They are given no explanation of where they are going or what awaits them beyond the door. The door closes. Most of them, though visibly shaken, comply. Yet one man is clearly bewildered when his name is called. "Me! I have done nothing!" he shouts as he stands. Saddam does not even bother to look at him. Calmly, he repeats,
When I finish reading your name, you will stand, recite the party slogans, and leave the room.
Nothing else follows. The man lowers his head and slowly walks out. Saddam continues until 68 names have been called. Across the hall, muffled sobs and ragged breathing begin to spread. Panic becomes unmistakable. Everyone understands that not all of them will leave this room, and that what is unfolding has gone far beyond warning or intimidation. After Saddam's cleansing comes to an end, many rows of seats are left empty. Only about 2/3 of those present at the start remain. Saddam still sits at the center, leaning back in his chair, drawing on his cigar. He slowly applauds a few times, as if praising a performance that has just concluded. His eyes sweep across the hall. Then he gives a slight nod, almost a signal. "Now it is your turn, comrades." The reaction of fear spreads instantly. At first, only a few men leap to their feet and shout, but it quickly ripples through the room like a survival reflex. Everyone tries to shout as loudly as possible, desperate to prove loyalty. Voices overlap in chaotic unison. Some chant while weeping. Slogans erupt relentlessly. "Long live Saddam Hussein." "Long live the Ba'ath Party." "Death to the traitors." The louder and more frenzied the chants, the safer one feels. Silence or hesitation carries the risk of suspicion. Saddam watches from his seat, visibly satisfied by the spectacle of loyalty. From time to time, he murmurs softly,
"Very good, comrades."
The chants thunder through the hall, but beneath them lies nothing but fear and coerced allegiance. The atmosphere resembles a collective confession. Everyone understands that survival today is a matter of fortune, and that shouting is the only proof of innocence. Fear has transformed into manufactured loyalty, artificial yet profoundly effective. From that moment on, no one dares to stand against Saddam again. The chanting gradually subsides, leaving only scattered slogans. Saddam lightly applauds, signaling for order. He scans the hall, then speaks briefly.
"Comrades, if anyone wishes to speak, come forward."
Several close allies immediately rise. One by one, they approach the podium and deliver short remarks, nearly identical in substance, praising Saddam's leadership, affirming the need to punish those deemed traitors, and pledging absolute loyalty. Each speaks for only a few seconds before concluding with slogans and applause. Saddam remains seated, observing and savoring the atmosphere. He nods with satisfaction, his smile widening, clapping along in measured rhythm. His gaze continually sweeps across the hall, as if noting who chants loudly and who hesitates. No direct command is needed. Everyone understands how they must respond. The speeches become a public ritual. Stand, declare support, leave the podium. The more forceful the declaration, the safer the speaker. Every round of applause, every shouted slogan becomes a means of asserting one's place in the hall and before the man who now holds all power. The atmosphere settles after the remarks from his close associates. Saddam rises and begins his closing speech in a slow, even voice. He declares that the party has just overcome a grave conspiracy of betrayal and that those involved have been removed. He emphasizes unity, praises the loyalty of those present, and affirms that the revolution and the state will be defended by any means necessary. He refers to the need for decisive action carried out in the spirit of the party, offering justification for what has just taken place. Finally, he raises his hand to lead the slogans. The entire hall responds instantly. The chanting resumes in unison, continuing for several minutes before the meeting formally concludes. Saddam nods and takes his seat. The recording session comes to an end. The consequences of the purge spread rapidly afterward. Many individuals are arrested in the following days. Some face hurried trials and executions. The Ba'ath Party's leadership structure is reorganized, replaced by figures regarded as absolutely loyal. From that point forward, Saddam's authority within the party stands virtually unchallenged. The events inside the hall become a message to the entire system. Loyalty must be displayed openly and without interruption. Fear of suspicion permeates every level. The Ba'ath Party, nominally a collective leadership, gradually operates as a structure centered on a single individual. What unfolds that day does more than consolidate Saddam's power. It marks the beginning of a period defined by purges and total control. Over time, this method of ruling through fear lays the groundwork for future confrontations, and ultimately turns his removal into the objective of numerous forces, both inside and outside Iraq, in the years that follow.